Oh, it's.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I am here with none other than Houston's own, Harris County's own county attorney, Christian Menefee, candidate for CD 18. How you feeling?
Good. Tired?
Tired?
No, good. I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, it depends on the day. You catch me on the right day. I'm good.
Y'all out here in these streets, so I can understand. Tired would apply. Thanks
I've
for
been
keeping it 100.
campaigning since March 17th. I was just thinking about that the other day because it was just like a couple of weeks before my youngest son's birthday. Yeah, it's crazy.
Since March 17th.
Yeah.
And today is the 29th of September.
29th of September.
All right. Well, first, before we get started, I want to thank you for being willing to reschedule. So, as you all know, he was scheduled for last Tuesday, but somebody got sick and had to cancel everything, had to shut down everything. But I'm back and I'm better. And so, thank you for being here this evening. So, first question, and I ask everyone who comes on the platform, tell me about your first time voting. What was that like?
So, when I was in college, my sophomore year, Barack Obama was running for president.
Okay.
I organized an event called Walk for Change, which got all the students at the on-campus housing to walk together to the on-campus polling sites. So I'd never voted for anybody before, and a deeply emotional thing because black man potentially could be president, blah blah blah. So we walked probably like 250 students from the on-campus housing to the polling site on campus, like made the news and stuff. And cast my ballot for Barack. That was memorable, but less memorable than like the night that Barack won. I remember that in 2008. I was on campus. We were watching the returns come in. You know how in all presidential cycles, like one state will come in and you like, it might be it.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then they declared Obama the winner, and I had to like go outside. I was having like a panic attack almost. I was
wow.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, I had to go outside and like catch a breath. I felt deeply overwhelmed. Even though I wasn't even really involved in politics or anything at the time. I think it was just, when you grow up in, a community like the communities I grew up in, you're only shown athletes, you're shown, musical artists, and you're shown the streets. I mean, that's pretty much like the examples that you see, right? And so, when a black dude can go, because I remember when he was deciding that he wanted to run, I was like, man, nobody vote for Barack Obama. What's that name?
Name.
Who voted for him? I ain't vote for him, bro. Come on. But yeah, that night was like deeply emotional for me. But Barack Obama, first vote.
Okay. Okay. So interesting. I wasn't sure if that was going to be like when you voted. I always tried to guess who was president when people voted the first time. But you mentioned Barack Obama and the memory of it and the fact that it made you emotional. How do you feel, and maybe you don't, maybe you haven't had this experience. I've heard people say this. How do you feel when people say you remind them of Barack Obama?
Oh, I ain't never heard that.
You've never heard that?
Nah, I never heard that. And if I did hear it, I wouldn't pay no mind. I think that you can't let other people put stuff on you that could cause you to be arrogant or second guess yourself. And so I just try to I use this thing I always say where there's Cory Booker's a prime example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cory Booker is a phenomenal candidate. Was when he ran for president.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's well-spoken. He's very intelligent. He's gotten the social media thing down. There's issues where people disagree with him, but in the last electoral cycle, and Cory Booker was pretty solid. The biggest issue with Cory Booker to me is when he ran for president, he just wasn't Barack Obama. Right? So you have now a generation of young black folks in politics who look in the mirror and they see Barack Obama, right? And it's kind of the shadow you can't get out from under. I don't see that. When I look in the mirror, I see Christian Menefee.
Come on.
I ain't trying to be Barack. I think he's a brilliant man.
Mm-hmm.
He was the right man for the time. Our experiences, just upbringing, everything is just vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
And they're I have never changed my speech cadence or anything to be more like Barack's. I've never changed like the content of my issue base or whatever to be more like Barack. To me, the easiest thing about this is just being myself and then letting shit shake out where it shakes out. So, I just rock how I rock, and
this shit shake out
how I shake out.
Okay, well, I like that, and thank you for that transparency. I've heard people say that. In fact, after you did a panel that I was a part of, that was some of the feedback.
Oh, this with the costumes. Yeah, they were showing love.
Yeah, that was interesting. So I was like, he's probably heard that before, and I know I've seen you a gazillion times since then, but I never shared that with you. But I appreciate the sentiment.
So you gonna share with me on air? Got me being all weird. I gotta think about it.
Because this is an interview, and I mean, you answered it solidly, but transparency. That's what we do here at Pretty Petty Politics. We keep it 100. Sometimes we be a little petty, but we kind of keep it sweet.
Yeah.
So making that decision, you are twice elected Harris County attorney, the youngest county attorney, the first Black county attorney. I was really excited when you ran in 2020. Like, I was hyped. I found a picture the other day of like back then. It was like a 2019 picture. But to see you and what you've done over the last few years, did Christian Menefee, who ran for Harris County attorney in 2020, did you foresee Congress down the road?
No. So I like to think of myself as a lawyer first, and I got into public service second, right? I went to law school in part because in my upbringing, I just had, there's plenty of times we didn't have money, we weren't doing great. And my parents were both military. My mom left the military because my brother had cancer, and so she had to be back and forth to the hospital with him. So we were on a single military parent income, enlisted. Like, my dad didn't go to West Point or nothing. It was enlisted income.
He was an officer.
No. So I very much got into the practice of law because I was like, oh, it's a way to like be able to make some money, right, and do better than I was doing when I was growing up. So I was an attorney for 8 years, just practicing. I did commercial litigation, and that gave me meaning and purpose. I started getting more involved in politics because Trump won the 2016 Republican primary.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, that's wild. Like, how is it that like, X amount of people in this political party think that this guy, who is astonishingly stupid, is well positioned to be the president? All right, I'm starting getting more involved. So I started getting more involved. I then went to like the Texas Democratic Convention. And at the time I was like rocking with Bernie Sanders. Like, that was kind of my flavor of politics. Because again, just because of my upbringing, I believe that like, yeah, we got to strengthen the social safety net. Like, there's all these programs that can help people who are like my family. Like, yeah, we got to help that out. Started getting more involved, and then ran for county attorney just because I took issue with something that my predecessor did. But the reason I ran for county attorney, one of the reasons, was because I could keep practicing law. Okay. Like, it's an office that allows you to run an office of attorneys and staff. I could like take on a case here and there if I wanted to. And so now I wasn't like, eyes open thinking, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then from there I can bounce to that. No, not at all. Okay. I had never even thought about running for Congress in this way until the Congresswoman decided she was gonna run for mayor. It's the first time I ever even thought about it.
Okay. And I'm gonna come back to that about when that decision came. But when you ran for county attorney, did you see yourself as a politician, or did you just see yourself as a lawyer who happens to be in an elected position?
The latter. So I talk about Law and Order a good amount because when I was growing up, the only lawyer I knew was Jack McCord.
Come on, Jack McCord.
No, that's my dude. I was like, oh, okay, so that's what being a lawyer means. It's like you just go, you like do trials and get speeches, and so that's kind of how I learned. There was one episode where there was a Black guy, and another Black guy was saying to him like, hey, at some point you're gonna have to decide: are you a Black man who's a lawyer, or are you just a lawyer who's also a Black man? And I told myself in that moment, like, I'm going to always be a Black man who is also everything else, right? So I always thought of myself as a lawyer who also did this stuff, right? But when I got in office and you start being a public servant, look, people don't care if you're just a lawyer. That ain't going to work for nobody. They're like, hey, I got this problem in my neighborhood. Well, I'm just a lawyer. They're like, yeah, no, that's not how this works. I voted for you. You better go figure this out and find a solution to my problem. But I think I also liked to distance myself from kind of like the standard elected official activity, right? Because you got jobs in elected office that you're not responsible for anything. you can, just post online all day. You can just, go around talking, and that's the job. My job is a whole office of 300 attorneys and staff that like has to run. We have to do this, we have to do that. And over the past 4 years, we've been able to get a bunch done for people, like just regular working class people. And so I think part of me kind of considered myself a little bit separate because I had like real responsibilities to go back to with the job. But then over time, I just realized that like this was one of the things that Sheila was great at. Your job as a public servant is to get stuff done for people. They come to you with a problem. They don't care if you're going to go tell this person about it, you're going to go tell that person about it, and eventually get solved. They don't care how you get it done.
Just go get it done.
Sheila would come to me all the time. She'd be like, hey, my constituent got this problem at the county. I need you to go like get it done. So I go get it done. And then I would I say, hey, can you send me the contact information for the person I call? And I'll call them, and they'd be like, "Oh, the congresswoman told me, like, yeah, she told me that two of y'all got it done." I said, "Look, my congresswoman knows what she's doing, right? Yeah. She knows what she's doing." But I now think of myself as like a public servant, right? Like I don't even like the title politician. I think, especially in today's space, there are all these people in the politician class who just talk, just yapping, just a bunch of running your mouth over and over, running your mouth here, running your mouth there, running your mouth on social media, whatever. And I just have never desired to be that. I just started really posting on social media for this race. Before this race, you can go check my social media. I was posting that joint like once every week, once every 2 weeks, just because that, for me, it was about doing the work. But I now realize that like
the work has to be shown.
Yeah. Look, you don't show your work in this business. You don't get brownie points for something you did in the quiet of night. It don't work like that.
Yeah. Okay. So when the congresswoman pivoted, from running for Congress and ran for mayor, what was that 23, 24?
Yeah, I think she got in the race in early 23, or no, it might have been like mid 23 when she actually got in, but she had been like flirting with it.
So you're in your first term. Mm-hmm. Did you think about jumping in the 18th then, or did you think, okay, if she becomes mayor, that might be an opportunity for me in the long run?
Folks in the community started asking me like, hey, is this something you consider?
Okay.
I said, yeah, maybe. And I thought about it for a second, but ultimately my position was resigned to run. And I just thought to myself, like, look, you don't know how the mayor's race is going to shake out. All these contingencies, all these, conditions precedent to me being in a position to be able to run. I was like, that's just not really my cup of tea. Like I'm more of a certainty guy. Like I like super type A. Like I like to be able to say, okay, this is the course that I'm going to chart. Now it's time to get to it, right? And so ultimately it just didn't make sense to me. And then of course she ended up, after she was unsuccessful in the mayor's race, she went back and ran for Congress anyway. So, I just feel like God kind of kept me out of that situation. That was the first time I'd ever even given any thought to it. But before then, it had never crossed my mind.
Okay. Now you said people in the community. There's a lot of scrutiny about why Christians running for office. Who's behind them? Who's pushing them? Mm-hmm. And being in your sphere and watching you, especially these last several months, I've come to realize it's kind of hard to tell Christian what to do. I kind of realized you kind of cast your own path. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about politics. It's like somebody will whisper something to somebody, and then it'll get whispered again, and the next thing you know,
it's fact.
It's fact. Yeah. No, just like real life community level people. So a few things. One, I think people were.
It's the ancestor in here. So when a fly doesn't leave,
that's right.
In my belief, when a fly doesn't leave, that's somebody coming to like assure you. Oh, so no, that's a good omen.
No, it's just a fly.
It's like it's just a fly. Might be.
No, so when I announced like 40 elected official endorsements out the gate, and I think to some people,
I remember.
Yeah, I think to some people that was like, oh, the machine at work, and I'm like, guys, I've been in politics out here for 4 years. Let me tell you something, ain't no machine. Like you go to places like Chicago, you go to places like New York, there are actual Democratic machines. There's no machine out here. Many of those calls when I was calling those elected officials, some of them took less than 2-3 minutes. And the reason that those folks supported me is because I had worked with just about all of them. That's the thing about when you're in public office and you're not treating it as just an opportunity to be seen and be heard, but you're going and doing the work. So, take Armando Wallet, right? I call him, hey, Representative, I'd love to have your support. He's like, Christian, I remember when they were trying to put that concrete batch plant next to James Driver Park, right? an all-inclusive park for kids, many of the kids with disabilities. And I was there at the presser with him, standing up, fighting back. We ultimately ended up fighting a lawsuit to try to block that. And the concrete batch plant still has not been built to this day. When I'm calling folks and we have worked together, we have stood in the trenches together and gotten stuff done, then the calls are actually incredibly easy, right? Because it's like, at that point, you got a track record and you can work together. So when I say community folk, I'm talking about like real life community folk. But there's always going to be people who are running their mouth and this and that. And I'm just like, yeah, those people just don't know me. That's all it is. That when people don't know something, it confuses them, right? They're like, how can a young guy come out and have all this support, right? Somebody must have set it up for him. And I'm like, nah, you just say shit like that because you don't have no track record. You ain't done no work, right? So you're skeptical of it because you wouldn't be able to get that because you don't do nothing. You just run your mouth, you yap, right? But if you are actually out here in the streets getting stuff done for people, then you would be able to walk in with that level of widespread support. And then the other piece of this is it's just a continuation of a narrative that they do to all black men in Houston politics.
Okay.
They call Sylvester corrupt. That for every one of you, they say that you're corrupt or you're part of the corrupt machine. They've done it to Sylvester, they did to Rodney, they did it to Daryl Jordan when he was serving on the bench. They did it to Deshaun Jones. They did it to Chris Hollins when Otis Evagaro was chair of the party. They did it to him. Like this, it's not a Christian Menefee thing. They do it to any time there's a black. And mind you, that's something that goes back like generations. That's not like some new stuff, right? So for me, it don't hurt my feelings. I'm like, yeah, you mad.
You mad. Now that list was a list, y'all. I don't know if y'all remember the list. I remember the list. I was like, damn. Like you came out batting 500, like not playing.
I mean, again, if you treat this like a job and you go and do work and you have a track record, people will judge you based on your track record. And if it is so unbelievable to you that somebody young can have a track record that is able to attract that kind of support, then you're not thinking about this the right way. You think about this as politics and not public service. And that's a you problem. It's not a me problem.
Okay. Dang, that was cold. Did y'all catch that? That was cold. Let's see. Do we have any questions? If y'all have questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll bring your questions to the screen. We will bring your questions to the screen. So as you are out here in the streets, so to speak, campaigning, block walking, visiting businesses, what are the concerns or sentiments, particularly around redistricting, that you're hearing from the community?
People don't know what election applies to what district for what term. Like people are like, okay, so wait, is your election in March? No, it's in November. Okay, but I just got drawn out, so I'm not in a district. Well, actually, the November election still applies for the old district. And also there's a hearing on October 1 to October 10 where the new maps might get thrown out, right? So but most part, people are just confused. They're just like, yo, and this is exactly what Abbott and them wanted, right? To like be able to create the confusion. But it's also just, Greg Abbott is just like a lapdog. I mean, and this is not unique to Abbott. The Republican Party right now is under the singular control of Donald Trump. And so if Trump says like, yo, jump, everybody's like, all right, how high, right? I mean, it's just how the party is now. But the sad part about it is the impact that it's having on our communities, because people already don't participate at a high level in our democracy. This makes them not want to do anything at all. This makes them not want to vote because they're like, oh, we have a seat that has this rich legacy of like fighting for us, and y'all are able to just pencil whip it out. Like you can just pull out a pen and just draw it out. So that's what I've heard on redistricting. As far as like broader issues, it's funny. When you've never run for like a national office, you have all these preconceived notions about what people think is important, right? You're like, oh, everybody care about Social Security. Everybody care about Medicare. I went to this woman's house. She was 80-year-old Black woman. Knocked on her door, and she come out. I'm like, all right, definitely Social Security, right? Let me get my Social Security. I'm finna kill her, right?
Don't kill the 80-year-old. I know. I'm just teasing.
I'm finna hit her with the Medicaid. All right, I'm ready. Yeah. Here we go. She comes out and she's like, yeah, young man, I want to know who's going to fight against Trump because I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this man. And it just, when I go to doors, Trump is the first thing that everybody brings up.
Oh, wow.
I say out of 100 doors, 97, 98 of them, Trump is the first thing they bring up.
Is this across diverse doors?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is everywhere from Humble to the Heights to Kashmere Gardens, Third Ward. Trump is like the first thing that gets brought up. Now, there are also some other people who they're actively, I don't want to talk about Trump, right? Okay. They're just like, I don't want to talk about that. Those folks, it tends to be more like America is expensive, and y'all ain't doing nothing for me, right? Like, why isn't government doing nothing for me? You gotta take all my money in these taxes. You gotta spend the money on everything except helping me. You know, why this situation that I'm in is in part because y'all won't do your damn job. And then it's like, outside of that, a lot of it is, especially in some of like the neighborhoods that are filled with Black folk, it's neighborhood beautification, right?
Okay.
It's like, dude, we don't have no sidewalks, right? Why they keep coming and dump on my block, and they dump the block up, and they always notice like it don't really be people from our community. It'd be some truck that's coming from some job site across town. They dropping stuff off, and the environmental justice stuff. But a lot of it, from when I'm talking to people, is Trump. It's America's too expensive, and it's like, why does my neighborhood look like this? Let's
talk about dumping. It's a big issue across the city, across Houston. I know. It's something the city of Houston has, something hot.
The hot team.
The hot team, because I always hear the Mayor Pro Tem, Martha, talk about it. Tiffany talks about it. What's your solution? What will you do as our Congress member, if elected? What will you do to address and to, I guess, empower those who are on the county and city level here when it comes to this illegal dumping that is causing environmental issues, as well as it's not a good look for a neighborhood, and it attracts rodents and everything else.
It's an environmental issue, and it's a blight issue. So a good congressperson, their role in this process is to get money here. Get money here, and then when the money gets here, make sure it's spent in the right way. The city of Houston actually had like a proceeding brought against it by the federal government. This is just like maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
And ultimately ended up having like reach an administrative settlement over illegal dumping practices, like over the city's failure to adequately address illegal dumping issues. So one is getting money in the door. That money a lot of times is going to come from EPA. But here's the problem. And this is one of the things that's like, people are like, oh, why you always talk about Trump? Trump dominates every single area of policy because he has changed so much. EPA is at their budget cut 60%. The environmental justice offices at EPA, these are the offices that I worked with closely because I served on a national committee with the EPA. They don't exist anymore. All those people out of work. They closed the offices, they eliminated the positions, they fired all those people. They've cut the budget substantially.
About 60%?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I know
Did
that
y'all
sounds
know that? About 60%.
It sounds insane, right? So the guy who runs the EPA now, Lee Zeldin, he's a former congressman out of New York, super just like pro-business guy. They pick that as one of the agencies that they're just like doing everything they can to improve the rate. He doesn't even view his job as like protection of, air, water, land, and like people. His job is like to make sure that I cut the red tape so that businesses can do whatever they want. I mean, I really do think he believes that to be his job, as if he's like an inspector general for efficiency or something, right? So with the cutting of that, what I would tell you under a normal presidency is like, look, I'm gonna work hard to get EPA dollars down here so we can do illegal dumping enforcement. But the truth is, with this Republican Party and with Donald Trump, that's gonna be real hard. It's gonna be super hard. So I think one area of value that I have that the other candidates don't have is a lot of times the problem with government is just the government is disjointed, right? You got, most people don't even know this, but you got the city, you have county government, you got the state, you got the feds, you got some school districts in there, right? So you have all these different levels of government. Right now, trying to get something done at the county is very difficult. Most people will go to their county commissioner first because they're the only folks in the county who really control their area, right? A tree fall, they want to get it picked up, they make a phone call, that joint don't get picked up, right? But what do you do if it's something that the county commissioner doesn't have the resources, not only from a money perspective, but like, to get it done. So I think what's different about me is that I have relationships all across the city, the county, state government, right? To be able to like help connect pieces to get stuff done. That's exactly what I've been doing for the past 4 years as county attorney. The congresswoman would call me all the time to get stuff done. That was not in my job title in any way. And in fact, if you look at like the deed fraud stuff we did, where we've been like going after these folks who have been stealing homes out from under Black and brown folks, that is like a completely made up thing. We made that practice up. That practice did not exist before I came. And you look across the state of Texas, you're not going to see any county attorneys or district attorneys bringing those types of cases. So I've always been one to like, I'm not going to go with like just the job title as listed in the statute, right? But like, how can I be impactful? So on the illegal dumping front, the enforcement has to be like robust at the city. I mean, that is the tip of the spear is the city.
So to enforce, as a member of Congress, you will push the city.
Yeah, so it's going to be a few things. One, I would work to get the city and the county to cooperate and like bring, I don't care, give me the lowest level person in your office, but someone that we can regularly, a group that we can regularly convene, identify the hot spots, get people out there to pick it up. Any funding that we can get to bypass the state, whether it be the city government, the county government, or directly in the communities to clean it up. Because that's the other thing. I was in Fifth Ward the other night, and some of them were like, hey, man, local government's had its chance. We don't want to do that no more. We want the money to come to us so we can go pick it up. Like identifying those opportunities and trying to get that money into communities. Those are going to be your main solutions on illegal dumping. Now, some people are like, oh, you put some cameras up, but like all those, if you don't have enforcement behind the cameras, you just like watching people dump shit in your neighborhood, right? But I think, and I learned a lot about this from Sheila, part of your approach just needs to be as a convener, right? When you're in Congress, you got stroke. If you say, hey, I want this amount of people to come here so we can talk about this issue and hash out a solution, people won't come, they're going to have authority to act, and they're going to try to really hash out a solution in a way that if you're not in Congress or if you're in some other position, you may not have. But even as a county attorney right now, there's stuff I can get done, but people be thinking I got way more stroke than I do. Oh, it's crazy. They'd be like, I'll get a call from some constituent, they'll call up to the office, and they'd be like, hey, they did this. Like, can you just like take them out? I'm like, whoa, hold on. Like, what do you think this job is, bro? So yeah, trying to get the federal funds in, trying to get folks to collaborate better within local government, and then like being a convener to like organize people in a way that I don't think is happening right now.
All right. So we talked about environmental justice in the form of the illegal dumping. Now we got to talk about the cancer cluster.
Yeah.
This has been a thing across administrations, across offices.
Yeah.
A lot of finger pointing. How do we, considering what you just expressed with EPA and what's going on with federal agencies, how do we get some resolution, some resolve for the victims, the community, as related to the cancer clusters?
Yeah.
Right.
So one thing is many residents in the communities have lawsuits right now against Union Pacific. Those folks should continue their lawsuits. Nothing that government is doing is going to like stand in the way or take away their ability to go and get paid if they can show that they were, a victim and that there's like causation that directly ties to whatever condition they had. So I went out in the Fifth Ward area, this is like years ago, and sat down with a mother who had just lost her teenage son, right?
Okay.
And we just talked about the issues. I mean, she was at the time just like going through it. I mean, she had just lost her kid. This was without no cameras, no nothing. It was just to like go learn. And as she, and then later somebody else in the community walked me like through the streets, they'll like point out like, in this house, there was an auntie and an uncle that had cancer. In this house, there was 2 kids that had cancer, right? And so you just go to learn like the breadth of it. So the timeline was the TCQ, which is the state's environmental regulatory agency. They're horrible. I mean, the state legislator has defanged them so much that they don't really have any teeth. And they really just view themselves as like, look, we can't really get out there and do too much because it's going to get us in trouble with the legislator. So we just kind of do the bare minimum. So they were set to approve a cleanup plan out there that would build a slurry wall. It hadn't been like super studied or run down, but there were community meetings out there. And this was like when I first got elected. And the community was like, hell no. Because once you approve that cleanup plan, you're basically saying like, all right, it's all good. We can move forward with this cleanup plan. Community was vehemently against it. My office wrote a letter to the EPA opposing the cleanup plan, as did Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Senator Miles was there. Then Mayor Turner was there. And ultimately, the TCQ, we got the EPA to come get involved. And the way we did that was through like this convoluted legal process. But basically, you file a letter of intent to sue the company over the contamination. The federal government then has the ability to come in and take over the case, right?
Okay.
And if they take over the case, you can't touch it anymore. They took it over. For us, that was ideal because we were dealing with the Biden EPA, right? Michael Regan, who's a young brother who's running the EPA. I mean, this guy, like, there's been nobody in the federal government who has pushed fighting back against environmental injustice the way that he had.
Okay.
And if you put them in the driver's seat, it takes away the TCEQ. They're not in the driver's seat anymore. That's exactly what happened. We filed the letter of intent. This was Mayor Turner and I in a nonprofit, but we had the support of the Congresswoman and all these other folks when we did it. The EPA then came in, took the case, and started the process of, it's basically like a Superfund light process, which means that they come in, they're going to do testing, and if the testing finds like different carcinogens, then from there they will be able to like understand and devise a plan for like moving forward. So they're doing that. They're going through that process. Some of it was challenging because like there are a lot of people in the community, and I told the EPA this under Biden, you can't just pull up on windbreakers and be like, hey, I want to come test in your land, sign this.
Right.
People in the neighborhood are going to be like, hey, man.
Distrustful because they've already been harmed.
That's right. I don't know you. It was folks in windbreakers who messed this up for us the first time. People getting sick, dying. We've been calling y'all. Ain't nobody been doing nothing. So over time, some properties got tested, some don't. Okay, then the Trump administration gets in, and they just cut funding for everything. Now, they didn't cut funding on this, but their approach is just different now, right? They couldn't care less about what happens in these communities. So I think the path forward is a few things. One, the lawsuit has to continue, and I hope that every single person who has experienced cancer, will go and like vindicate their rights individually. Two, at some point there needs to be a serious conversation about relocation. But in the last conversation about relocation, there were like people in the community were split on it, right? Some folks were like, okay, the land is toxic, we want to get out. Other folks were like, okay, hold on. Y'all telling us the land is toxic, but y'all still building stuff over here. So, you know, Black folks, I mean, we done lived in a country where, you know, people figured out any way to get us out of our wealth and to get us out of our homes and send us other places. And then, you know,
we lose that.
Yeah, after a year, you don't put some stuff in the dirt, it's all good now. Now y'all building luxury homes on it. So the community was split before. And I think it was just too premature, right? Like you got to go in, do the testing, and really get to a point to where folks are comfortable with the results. And then you can decide if people want like, hey, I want to move out and I want y'all to pay me to move out. But it's just like a two-pronged approach. One is looking back, and that is if you were a family member who was a victim and you believe you're entitled to compensation, they should be able to file a lawsuit. And then looking forward, which is how do we make the ground safe for people to continue to live there, if that's possible. It may not be possible, right? Okay. To me, though, and you mentioned this, it was like a lot of finger pointing. There are people in this race who just discovered the cancel clauses when they filed to run for the 18th threshold. I'm like, this is silly. It's silly. People in these communities are really suffering, right? Yes. Like people have died. When I was out there walking the streets, talking to people in the community, like I said, there wasn't a single camera with me. And you can go out there and ask people, and they'll say, yeah, Menefee has been here. It wasn't not a camera with me. We weren't trying to get no clout off of it. And then some of these people are just like pulling up, and you ask them, okay, what do we do about this? Tell me what you do. Tell me what we do about it. Well, the problem is, you know, in government, where's the money going? I'm like, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking. Just shut up. This is the performative part of politics that is disgusting to me, because it's like, I know that you don't care about those people in that community. You don't. Because if you did, you've been living out here for how long? If you did, you would have been in the hood checking on people, trying to figure out a way to be impactful. And there are plenty of people who have been doing that, who were not elected and who were there just because they had a real heart for this stuff. You know, Kathy Buford Daniels was out there rocking, trying to like sound the alarm. She was like one of the first people out there. Sandra Edwards was out there rocking, keep down it. These folks were like really trying to find solutions. They were advocating
for the neighborhood,
advocating for the community in a real way. So don't try to come play activist now that you're running for Congress, right? And like, oh, you know, I'm gonna point fingers. I'm like, yeah, okay, go talk to people in the community. They'll tell you I was out there doing everything I can to find a solution. I'm not like a microbiologist. I'm
about to be petty.
What was that?
I said I'm about to be petty.
Oh Lord, all right, let me grab my drink of water.
Get you a sip of water. So a couple of weeks ago, I had one of the other candidates here, and she said we need to take all the trains out of the city and put them outside of the city.
I mean,
how does that work? Is that plausible?
I mean, the railroads are governed by the federal government, so I don't know how you're going to do that. If what that person was saying was there should be a vote by Congress, or the president should instruct whatever federal agency to reroute rail transit lines so that they're not coming through the city. I don't know if that's doable or not, but like ultimately that doesn't solve the problem. You go talk to people in the community, they have two concerns. One, how do we address this moving forward? The contamination's already in the ground.
The contamination is here.
It's already on the ground. So if you move the railway, that's not going
That doesn't take away the contamination.
No, the plume is underground. So that's one. And then two, it doesn't address the people who have already been victims of cancer, right, in the past. But see, that's what I mean. When we're at debates and stuff, I'm not going deep like that.
No, that's what the conversations are for. This is everyone's opportunity to let the community hear you.
We get into debates, and if I'm up there talking about plumes and stuff, I'm losing. But this is the real work of governing. Like, you can't just be a Johnny come lately on an issue, learn 1% of it, and then go and use it as talking points. At least like care enough to like really go and learn about the issue and the ins and outs of it. And to be clear, I wasn't like the foremost expert on this. Like, I worked on it and I spent real time on it, but there were other people who were like, kind of, I mean, look, the mayor was knee deep, God rest his soul. Sylvester Turner was knee deep on this. Like, he really, really cared about this issue. Sheila really, really cared about this issue. So there were folks who were there kind of doing the work up front, but like, it's not an easy thing. You have communities that have been being poisoned for more than 100 years. That's the other thing. A lot of people have no clue how long the contamination, because that didn't start with Union Pacific, right? That started with the Southern Pacific Railroad, which was bought out by UP later on. So this is like, I mean, this ain't going back 10 years. We're talking about like more than a century, right? Yeah. And I just, candidates gonna candidate. I mean, that's just, people just.
But that's an important point, like the longevity of this contamination, the longevity, because there were times where there were no regulations, and we're coming back around to that type of time where the regulations are damn near non-existent, right? And the rail in Houston has been a major city for a while. It's even been the capital of the state of Texas. The railway is a major component, and has been.
So I don't know who this person is, but if they believe that it's the railway that causes the cancer, so you're gonna move it so somebody else can get cancer. I mean, but that's the thing. It's not the railway. It was the creosote, which was used to treat the wood, right? The plume is already in the ground. Picking up the railway and moving it somewhere else is not going to address the contamination that is in the dirt, like right now as we're talking, right?
In the dirt, probably in the pipes.
In the dirt and water vapor intrusion and the waterways, blah, 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 right? But ultimately, you just have to have like public servants who are serious about trying to find a solution to this. And I do think that part of the solution has to be real like monetary damages for the people who have suffered. Now, government's probably not going to be able to like file a lawsuit on their behalf, but there are people in the community who have lawsuits right now. Now, how successful they're going to be, like, we'll see on that. But it is government's job to clean that stuff up for moving forward. And if it can't be cleaned, we need to find out very, very quickly so that folks can get money to be able to go to other locations. But look, my grandmother, had a house in Fifth Ward when I was growing up on Campbell Street and Haley Street. So like, my uncle's Wheatley class of 83. Yeah, I got family members who came up out there. I would be very hesitant to, without the data to back it up, say, oh, it's toxic, you got to move out. Because they finna put up some houses. As soon as you move people out, it's going to be different folk who are living in that neighborhood. And the other piece of this is, if this was happening in River Oaks, that shit would have got figured out 6 years ago.
Okay. Center Street has $500,000 and up homes right on the railroad. I mean, you can reach out with a broom and touch the train.
It can be done safely. So then the question is, why have these communities been crying out for a generation and nobody listened to them?
There we go.
And why didn't all of this pop until 2021? That's like, it really started taking off in like the 2019 moving forward period. And that just doesn't make any sense to me. And, to anybody who's like trying to criticize Sylvester or Sheila or me or whoever was in the middle of it trying to like figure it out, I just say, okay, show me your track record on environmental justice.
Yeah.
Show me what you've done.
Show me.
At the crib playing video games.
Show me. All right. So here we are. Early voting is in a few weeks. The last day to register to vote is next Monday, October 6th, the last day to register to vote. If you need to register to vote, please reach out to me. If you're in Harris County, even if you're in the surrounding county, and I will put you with somebody who can get you registered. But next Monday is the last day to register to vote. Then we get early voting just a few weeks later. We are almost at the first finish line.
Look. Yeah, I found myself saying like, it's almost over.
Round
one is almost
over. 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
how does this weigh on a young family?
We've been good. So I think I've really locked in on like fatherhood. Just really changed me.
Okay.
My oldest is 4, my youngest is 1.5, and before them, I think my perspective is just different. Like I was much more trying to advance for me and my wife. When we have kids, it just do something to you. Like everybody be saying like, "Oh man, you got your kids all over the place." I'm like, bro, this is a real representation of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, I feel like core to my identity is just being a daddy. So um, it has been stressful in that you just moving around a lot.
Okay.
I mean, every night you got an event, right?
Mm-hmm.
During the day at work, at some point I shut it down, start campaigning. Then I go pick up. So I go pick up my oldest every day, and then bring them home. And I probably got an hour with them, and then I got to be back out. So it's a lot. My wife is also a professional. So my wife and I met at law school.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife is also a professional, and she's like, she works real hours, right? So in a sense of it has definitely been an adjustment, but I'm a firm believer that God gives you what you need when you need, right? And I have felt so much like support and love and grace
Mm-hmm.
during all this. And there have been times in public office where I've actually felt more stressed about the strain of my family than right now. I think we're in a good place, and we talk about it a lot. My wife and I do, and I feel like I overcompensate with trying to love on my kids, especially because the time where it'll break your heart is when my oldest will be like, "Daddy, I don't like when you're away from me."
No.
I'm like, "I'm about to drop out, son. You're gonna make me drop out." But no, we're surviving. It's good.
Okay, good. I thought that was important to ask. Here's a question from Justin. All right. Harris County, under your office, has sued or taken action against multiple concrete facilities for violations. What new federal enforcement tools or DOJ/EPA partnerships would you bring to Northwest Houston? How will you protect neighborhoods before permits are issued?
Yeah. So the first piece of the answer is I cannot overstate this. With this EPA, nothing, because this EPA will not allow anything to happen. So I just want an expectation set that the Trump EPA under Lee Zeldin, they're not going to do anything to help your communities. And I will go to them and ask them because that's the job.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not even interested in keeping the doors open at the EPA. So they're certainly not interested in closing the doors of concrete batch plants in our communities. There was a bunch of work that I did under the Biden administration that we don't ever talk about. This is the thing about, we've done a lot of stuff, but there's just like so much that there's some stuff that has to kind of go in the back seat. One of the things is advocating for stronger air quality rules. So we advocated very strongly, including participating in the federal rulemaking process, for a lot of the stuff that comes out of the concrete batch plants. Is particulate matter is like the main thing. And think of these as like these dust particles, and they have different sizes of them. For one of the sizes, we were able to get the Biden administration to enact much stricter emissions rules. And industry was so mad at us over that. I mean, they were like, why would you guys support this, blah, blah, blah. But that's a good example, Justin, of addressing an issue before the concrete batch plant is built in your community, right? Stricter air enforcement or air quality rules means less of these facilities in your communities, hopefully, right? Which in the long term will be beneficial to your community. What I would do if I had a friendly EPA is 1, try to ramp up enforcement. 2, try to get the federal government involved in state permitting. So permitting is largely done at the state level for these facilities, right? And in state Texas, I mean, we filed a lawsuit a couple of years ago and got them to change some stuff. But prior to that, I mean, concrete batch plants, as long as you check a few boxes, not within 440 yards of a school, a place of worship, or a church. No, school, place of worship, that is a church. I can't remember what the third one is. It wasn't a hospital. I'll tell you that because we had that happen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with LBJ. But as long as you check those boxes, they're going to give you a permit. And the TCQ is like, yeah, like I know y'all want the law to change, but that's just not our job. We just follow the law. So I would try to work to get the federal government more involved in the permitting process. Under the Biden administration, they started taking on a lot of these Title VI cases, which is basically a member of the community files something with the federal government saying these people are discriminating against us on the basis of race, and here's how. Under the Biden administration, they were starting to do more of those. That law needs to be strengthened because it's from decades ago in the civil rights movement, but it allows the federal government a hook to come in. And when the federal government come in and they start messing with stuff, that's when the states will capitulate, and that's when they'll make changes. That's what we did with the concrete batch plants out here. So that would be my goal under a normal EPA. But again, under a Trump EPA, you got to be in there throwing bows. I mean, it's just the first 2 years of the job is going to be oversight of the Trump administration.
Let me ask you this: has any legislation been filed that you know of in the state legislature
to change concrete batch plant?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, every session. I go up there and testify for something just about every single session. So the dean, Ms. T, she was like the leader on this issue.
Okay.
And then over in the Senate,
and that's Sophronia Thompson.
That's right.
Okay.
And then over in the Senate, Senator Miles was very big on this too. So I've been out there a number of times to testify on bills. So one of the bills that
but any other legislators that are not representing these particular areas advocating in the legislature?
So you would typically see it from the Black communities in the Houston area. There has been some alignment with, there was like a cement kiln that was out. I can't remember, I think it was Grayson County.
Okay.
And the lieutenant governor got involved in that one. Now, that's a completely different type of facility than a concrete batch plant. A concrete batch plant, think of it like this big, and then one of those cement kiln joints, that's like, it's huge. It's like its own little town, right?
Okay.
But you found some folks in like some of these rural towns, right, where there was some alignment. The problem though is the committee that goes through, and I want to say it's the Environmental Regulation Committee in the State House. They don't care.
They don't care.
No. The chair of that committee is like this very business friendly guy. And I testified once in Houston because they did like a visiting session in Houston at Rice, and I testified on the bill, and they're just like, yeah, cool story, but nah. Ms. T, she had a bill that would allow local governments the ability to basically veto a concrete batch plant because there's too much of an overconcentration in a certain neighborhood. And when I tell you that those bills, they'll get a hearing, there will be 65 people testifying in support of them. And then it'll just be the Concrete Association, the Aggregate Association, they'll come and testify against it. That joint won't even go to a vote.
Because the money.
They died. That's right.
All of the money.
So every session, there's probably at least like a dozen or a couple dozen concrete batch plant bills that are filed. They don't ever move in a serious way.
Oh, wow. If you have other questions and you're watching, please feel free to throw them in here, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook. And if you're on the replay and you have questions afterwards, please share them and I'll send them to Christian. Now, we'll get some responses in the comments though, if there's something that we can't answer. So what Justin say? Since you'll represent this area for only 1 year, what are your top 3 deliverables for Northwest Houston? Oh, because where Justin lives, they're going to be taken out.
Oh yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, man, I'm trying to represent for more than a year. I was like, out of the power of the tongue. So first of all, I want to lead in with and make sure that everybody's educated on. There is a hearing October 1 through October 10, where a 3-judge panel is going to determine whether to block the maps during the pendency of the case, right? The lawsuit. So this lawsuit was already active from the 2021 maps, where Sheila Jackson Lee and some other folks filed a lawsuit.
The El Paso?
That's right.
Okay.
But they filed supplemental pleadings in the case, which basically just replaced the old maps with the new maps. So what I've been told by the lawyers out there is there's a not insubstantial chance that the maps could be blocked. I mean, look, you're trying to decide whether there was intentional dilution of votes on the basis of race. Donald Trump's DOJ sent a letter and was like, yo, these 5 districts right here, I don't like that they're black and brown. Yeah, I don't like that they're black and brown. So I would say top 3 deliverables is trying to address the illegal dumping issue in a way that is intentional and that entrenches like government in focusing on something that seems minute to people in government sometimes, but in communities is a very big deal. Trying to get increased funding, and this may sound small to people, but for sidewalks. I mean, there are all these communities that don't have sidewalks.
I mean, it's a safety issue.
Really. And it is so bizarre to me, right? That like you can go into a community and like, for a 5-mile radius, like there's no meaningful sidewalk. That's nuts. And then 3, there are a lot of environmental justice issues on the Northwest side that are not talked about enough. There are other areas that tend to get more, they're just in the news more. But, out neighbors' homes, they're dealing with all kinds of stuff, right? Metal recyclers, all these different facilities that pollute the air and that are just bad for folks. So that would be something else that I'm going to be heavily focused on. But look, out the gate, my number one goal is to get appropriations into the district, right? To bring money home immediately. I very much look forward to having these fights with the Trump administration where we're going to rein them in over their illegal spending, whatever it may be, their degrading of the rule of law, targeting folks, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, if you're a member of Congress and you didn't bring the money back home, I mean, it's kind of
what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? So that'll be. And Justin says that they're moving to CD2. Ooh, Dan Crenshaw, good Lord.
And then the second part of his question was also, how can people on the Northwest Side, 1916 Gessner, 77064, get involved in your campaign today?
ChristianMenefee.com is the website, and you can sign up right there, Justin, on the front page. You can sign up to volunteer, man. And if you have any ideas about the Northwest side of town and how a member of Congress can best serve them, email me at christian@christianmenefee.com. I'm not powerful enough to think that I know all the answers. Folks who have lived in the communities, have experienced it, they're going to know it better than somebody who's now running to try to represent them in Congress. So you got any ideas, man, shoot it to me.
All right. Next, we got a question from Carisha Rogers. Hey, sis. How will you use your position to help engage people in the district to let them know they have someone working for them?
Yeah, you got to be active in the streets. So one of the things that the Congresswoman was very, very good at is the many, many times I've been with her, it didn't matter where we were in the district. If we got out the car somewhere, it was going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people. It was going to run up to her and be like, oh, I remember you helped me with this, you helped me with that. So that means doing town halls. That means frequenting the business out there. And it also just means just being present. You can't be the representative of a district and you just sitting in your damn house all day long, or you sit up in DC all the time. I've had the pleasure of the past 4 years of representing an entire county, right? There are some communities I just have not been in as much as others because, this county is huge.
Yeah.
This county, we're a state, to be the 25th most populous state. And then it's also just area-wise huge. I had an event one night, and I drove from one side of the county to the other. I was in the car way too long, definitely more than an hour. It's ridiculous. But, with a district, you're able to kind of concentrate on more compact neighborhoods. So my goal is to be there. Is to be at the churches, be at the bars, be at wherever I need to be.
The church and the bar.
in order to engage with folks. My uncle used to own a bar in Fifth Ward some years ago called Nichols. But just just being out there, and then of course dissemination of information, right? And doing it in a 2025 kind of way. So that includes social media, it includes email lists, all those things. And I definitely plan to do all that. But for me, I found that even when people, some of the stuff you were talking about earlier, if people had heard a rumor about me, blah, 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 right? I go sit down with them and we rap like this. By the time it's over, they're like, oh, yeah. They're like, all right, I'm with you. Okay, yeah, you made some good points. So I think that there is no kind of greater equalizer than in-person contact. So I plan to be kind of all throughout the communities.
Okay. So you said town halls. That's been one of my critiques. I'm not saying that people don't have town halls, but they're not communicating that these town halls are happening. So as a constituent of the 18th, unless the 3-judge panel says differently, until next December 2026, how will you, if elected, how will you get the word out about these town halls?
Yeah, so I think that if you bring in somebody who's dynamic, who people are excited about, and they market it in a 2025 way, right? Which means not just leaflets, but online in a real way, getting in people's mailboxes in a real way, robocalls in a real way, auto text messages in a real way, people will show up. So I do this thing called Lasting Legacies across the county right now, where I go and talk to Black seniors about wills and estates and the importance of having a will, because right now in this country, 70% of African Americans and over 80% of Latinos die without a will, which is crazy, right? Chadwick Boseman died without a will. A lot of people don't know that. No will, right? When we host these events, it'd be 250 people at these things. And I'm talking about, we marketed by just sending out emails. And it'd be 250 seniors.
There are some elected officials who do very well with what you just described, and they are not young. And I respond because I'm going to something Saturday because I was invited, right? But I think that's the missing piece, the communication. So I'm glad to hear that if you elected, you'll do that. So just answer another question. He says, if you can find a way to represent we instead of
Dan Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw will they would very much love that.
Well, the good news is representation don't stop at lines, right? So being a good member of Congress means being a good member of Congress for all of the greater Houston area. And it also, means this seat has been a voice for Black America for a very long time, right? Like, when Barbara Jordan spoke, the entire nation listened, right? When Mickey Leland advocated for ending hunger across the world, I mean, it was like
it's a global
Black
thing.
folk. That's right. So, this is a seat that speaks for national Black America, and like that importance is not lost on me. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Next question. Would you be willing to use your position as congressman to help unite Democrats to help uplift the county-wide elections engagement to increase voter turnout? I love that.
Yeah. In fact, I've already done it. So there are 17 candidates in this race. There's not a single candidate who's been out there trying to get Democrats elected across the state of Texas like I have. I was the co-chair of the countywide re-election effort in 2024. But every single cycle since I've been in office, every one, I have endorsed candidates. I have put money up. I have knocked doors or made calls. I have done whatever I can to like try to spur turnout. And that's not just when I was on the ballot. That includes like city elections. It includes like congressional races in other parts of the state where I just felt like strongly, like, like when Jasmine was running in Dallas, I was like, yeah, look, Jasmine dope. We need her. I'm supporting her. Greg Kassar out of Austin, like supported these people because it was about building something different. Like when Tallarico was running for state rep, supported him. And to me, we have a new generation of public servants who are rising up in the Democratic Party. People want a more aggressive party. They want folks with a backbone. They want folks who have a more clear message. You can't do all that if you're not building your bench, right? So I've been on this type of time of trying to like flip the state of Texas, right? Of trying to like help good people get in office so that we start to build up the bench and then we're able to run candidates statewide. Like I didn't just discover this when I decided to run for Congress. I've been doing this for a while now. Now I've been doing it as a county attorney. You know what I'm saying? So like when you're the county attorney, you endorse a candidate for Congress, they're like, that's cool. We appreciate that, right? But when you're in Congress, I think you're going to have a way bigger pulpit, a way bigger reach, and a way bigger ability to influence folks to get involved in the process. So I definitely plan to do that. But also, I mean, look, if you look at from the South right now, who are the young brothers in Congress from the South?
Yeah.
Shamari Figures.
What's the brother name from? What's Shamari from Montgomery?
Shamari from Alabama. Yep.
Shamari the young man from Florida. I'm not good with names.
Byron Donalds?
Faces. No, not him.
I was like, oh no.
No. He's from like the Orlando area.
Oh, Maxwell.
Yeah.
Maxwell, fire. Yeah.
I know faces, right?
So we just named 2 people and 1 Republican, right? Right now.
You named a Republican.
Yeah, no, that's right. And Colin left, so Colin's out. But right now, there's not like generationally a bunch of young brothers who are able to impact our communities and who are able to like speak to people. Because this is one of the problems. Like, I had a cousin who was like trying very hard to decide if he was going to vote for Kamala or Trump. And his thing was like, look, Trump making all these promises for like my level of working class. And like, y'all talking about a bunch of goofy stuff that I don't really care about. But one of the other things he pointed out was like, y'all be having people come talk to me who don't look like me. They're not from my community. And they're talking to me about stuff I don't care about. So I think part of it is the Democratic Party, part of the rebrand has to be, you have to have people who are from and of these communities who are able to come and talk to them about the issues, able to come and learn from them. You can't be sending, like a Boston type candidate to Acres Homes to go rap with people in the community and like build that connection. I think that is part of how we increase engagement and turnout. People got to be excited.
Yeah.
They got to be excited about it.
And they got to see themselves.
They have to see themselves in it. They have to be excited. And they have to trust that like what you're talking about is going to be something that is going to actually help make their life better. And, we're just like running through the young brothers who are in Congress. And from the South, there's just not a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so like, we're losing all these black men. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, in part, it's like, well, what do you expect? Right. Like,
And yeah, because I've had that conversation a lot with brothers. Like, how does the party, where do I fit in this party? Right. Besides, it's the tradition that's been passed down. Like, where do I fit in? So I would say candidates like yourself matter because that gives them opportunity to see themselves. Before we get ready to close, we got a few more minutes. I do want to ask you a couple more questions.
Sure.
So the first one is, and I've been asking everybody this. Let's say you get through November, you get through January. So that's round 2, January, the runoff. If there's a runoff, everybody says it's runoff. I'm a woman of faith. I'm praying there's no runoff, but nevertheless, we make it to early voting in February for the March primary. If Al Green runs for CD18, will you drop out or will you make him challenge you?
So
not make. I mean, that was kind of tough, but
so a few things. One, I really am very optimistic that these maps are going to get live.
Okay.
So I'm like, the Lord is going to come in and split this up. 2, this is exactly what Republicans want, right? They want to put communities against each other. They want to make us have to fight for scraps. When the truth is, our communities deserve representation for multiple members. Like, there should still be a Congressional District 9 in the exact same place that it was, that Congressman Green is able to represent. Congressional District 18 should be exactly what it was so that another member can represent that. So right now I'm focused on the special election, like that's what's ahead of me, but I'm running to represent the district long term, right? And that is not like, running and winning and then saying, all right, well, I appreciate y'all giving me 10 months. I'm gonna head out. I believe deeply in my community. I've left, I'm leaving the county attorney's office because I believe that deeply in serving in this capacity. So I'm running to represent the district long term.
Okay, love it. Here's another question, because I've gotten this a lot. I get phone calls and texts about this. Why would Christian leave the county attorney's office? He's doing such great work. I'm scared that if he leaves, that work will leave with him.
That work ain't going away.
Okay, so talk to those people who that's where they find their hesitation. They found their hesitation regarding you as a candidate in the fact that they appreciate you so much as their county attorney. And I think most people in Harris County do appreciate you as our county attorney.
Well, look, if people's biggest criticism is you so cold right now, we need you to be cold there, then I take that seriously. I really take it as a compliment. I really do. We have built the county attorney's office to be a well-oiled machine. At this point, there are dozens of lawyers in the Houston area who could take that office over, and I have no doubt that as long as they just stick to the plan, stick to the script, they're gonna be just fine. It's going to be just as firepowered. It's going to be just as dynamic. It's going to be throwing the punches it needs to throw. Now, we came up with some new practices, so they're going to have to continue to cultivate that. And also, I'm going to Congress. I'm not dying. So, I'm going to be around the corner, right? So whoever takes it over, I'm just a phone call away if they ever need anything or any help. But I mean this is an office of not one person. This is an office of 300 people. The people in that office are ready to go. The environmental stuff don't continue. The fighting against Greg Abbott stuff don't continue. The protecting voting rights stuff will continue. So that office is a well-oiled machine. I'm a firm believer. You don't run for office to go there and be there for 40 years and post up. I'd never gotten a public service to be somebody who was trying to post up, who was trying to hold the titles so that I can continue to go to galas. That's not my MO.
Not the galas.
It's not my. Well, I keep talking about that because I've seen it. I've seen it in real life. I'm not clamoring to get in office. I have run for 2 offices before, county attorney, and now I'm running for Congress. I'm not in need of an office. I'm not in need of a title. I'm not in need to be recognized at events. That's just not who I am. Other people might be that. I'm not that. I have built the county attorney's office up to be the leading Democratic fighting force in the entire state of Texas. Many people from out of state think of this office as the Democratic Attorney's General Office of the state of Texas, right? We have built that up. It is ready to be passed on. The next person will be in a fantastic position to continue that work to protect communities. I felt very drawn to advocating in Congress, to trying to increase my impact in Congress. And the reason is because of the moment that we're in right now. I talk a lot about Barbara Jordan on the campaign trail, but you got to think about it. Richard Nixon's being investigated, and Barbara Jordan's impact leads to the resignation of a president of the United States. When Richard Nixon was in that moment, what he was doing was corrupt. It was ugly. It was disgraceful. But it pales in comparison to what the president of the United States is doing right now. He just indicted the former FBI director, who multiple people had tried to indict, and they were like, "There's no case here. We got to leave this alone." And he forced a U.S. attorney to continue that work, tried to force his attorney general to indict that person, right? He is going after his political enemies. He is sending federal troops into communities that don't want them there, right? And many of them run by black mayors, targeting black mayors. He is redrawing districts because he knows that he can't convince people to vote for him. So he's just like pencil whipping the map so he can still representation for black and brown communities. We're not in like normal politics anymore. And so to me, the future of our country, like the soul of our country, that fight is happening right now. And it's not happening in Harris County, it's happening in Washington, D.C. I had my time in Harris County as a leader, as a fighter, on behalf of county government, the people in this county, to stand up to state leaders. I think that there is a more important fight that's happening right now. And if I felt like I was the only person who could do the county attorney's job, I wouldn't have left. I would have stayed there. I have no doubt that there's
fully confident
100%
okay.
that there's many of people you can put in that job and they will be just fine. And it will continue to be what it is. I believe that I am by far, and it's not close, most qualified, most passionate, most effective person that's in the Congress right now to advocate on behalf of the 18th Congressional District. I believe that the 18th representation will be markedly better under me than under any of my opponents. I believe that with all my heart.
Okay. Now I would say final words, but it sounds like you just gave the benediction. But any final words?
So we might just go ahead and actually pray. Lord,
any final words or things that you want to leave the viewers, those who are watching live or those who will watch the replay later, because usually this is like at 8. But anything you want to leave them with?
Yeah, look, there are a lot of candidates in this race, and just about everybody on the Democratic side is talking about fighting Trump. I'm the only candidate in this race who has beat Trump, who has beat Greg Abbott, who you can trust to both come with the fire and to be effective when I do it, and to keep the community up front when I'm doing it. So like in every single move that I make, what's in the best interest of the community. So I really believe we're going to win this thing. And when we do, I'm running to represent everybody in this district. I don't care if you endorse this candidate, if you was on that candidate's literature, if you didn't want me at your event because you went, I don't care about none of that. I deeply believe in our communities, and I deeply believe in throwing punches back against the powerful who have set this country on a path where we have hundreds times more billionaires now than we did just a couple of decades ago. Yet the average person makes less, has less value property-wise, has higher debt than they had. This is becoming a country for the few and not the many. And Black folks and Latinos are getting hit harder than everybody else in that equation. So I'm running to be that person, the same person I've been as county attorney. Everybody will ask me like, you did such a good job as county attorney, like, why go to Congress? You can judge how somebody's going to be in a different job based on how they were in the job that they had, right? And even the people who aren't even my supporters, some of my opponents are going around telling people, oh, we really need him at county attorney because he's so good at that, right? I will be the exact same vigorous, unselfish, courageous leader in Congress that I've been as county attorney. And the people will remain at the center of what I do every single day. And I hope to have your support. Go to ChristianMenefee.com, learn more, and hopefully support us in this campaign. I'd love to have you vote.
All right. Well, that is our time with Christian Menefee. Oh, I had one more question.
One more.
The commercial.
Oh man,
the commercial. I'm sorry, y'all. I was getting ready to close it. That was a great closing, by the way. You can say the last part again. But the commercial. So first, I'm not gonna even hold you. I enjoyed the commercial because it's a throwback to MTV Cribs, right? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I hope that's what I was supposed to be picking up from that. Yeah. So I did like that because I grew up watching Cribs. So the commercial. Why'd you go that way? Because I've heard critiques of it, like he showed too much. Like,
yeah, I'm sure it was all political insiders who were saying that. So first of all, the commercial is not for political insiders, and people already know who they're gonna vote for. Like, this is politics, right? The people who play in this space already know who they're gonna vote for. So a few things. One, I wanted my ad to speak to who I was. And I've been very intentional in my time in politics that I'm not sacrificing who I am, my blackness, or any of that for anybody. So you finna see my black family. You're gonna see like the Menefee Grill is funny. I was talking to uh, the guy who like executive produced it and everything. They just like sat down with me for an hour and they were just like, "Hey, just tell us your story. Just talk to us." And I talked for an hour. I learned so much about myself in that hour because you don't really do that all the time, right? Like in politics, you're always selling a product, right, of what you think people want to hear, and you kind of shape it from there. But I just talked for like a long time, and I was telling him about how when I was growing up, like I knew people who had grills, but we didn't have no money for no grills, so we would take the foil. Come on, come on, dog. I already know. Finish. You're right. You already know. So, and I didn't tell him that like keeping in mind like, oh, he might try to put an ad. No, I was just kind of telling my story or whatever. So what the ad is intended to convey is two things. One, that like I'm the only candidate in this race who has fought and won, right? Everybody gonna talk to you about fighting. Some people who have been fighting, some people who had never even heard of that word until it became hot. So everybody gonna talk to you about fighting. Cool.
Shade.
But I'm the only candidate who has fought and won, right? And here's just a couple of examples. Two, it was intended to like give a glimpse of just who I am, and like my family is at the center of who I am.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's always been that way, but I got a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So like there was no way I was going to take a whole day to go shoot, and the family wasn't going. I mean, it doesn't like logistically make any sense. And I think we in 2025, I just think that the old school political ads are just a thing of the past, right? If you do the whole like, I'm Christian Menefee, I went to UTSA, and then after that, I went to law school. I just think in this media environment, you got to grab people's attention, and they need to leave the experience, one, talking about it. So if they're critics, that's great because that means people talking about it. But two, just having a glimpse of who you are, right?
Okay.
And so when people are like, you show too much or whatever it may be, I'd be like, dude, like, this is who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I work out every morning at 6 a.m. Like, I don't go around, 5 a.m. I don't go around like broadcasting, but yeah, be in the gym. That's what I do, right? Like, I love the hell out of my family. Black culture is my culture. Like, that's who I am. I'm not, I didn't go to law school, get a good job, and get that up. I've been the same person when I was at a law firm with mostly white people that I am now. And so I think the idea was to convey like here's who I am in a quick, catchy, witty way. And look, the feedback that we've heard has been like, look, there's like, you talk to some political insiders like, oh yeah, why you show so much? Then you just talk to like normal people and they're like, oh, that was dope. So it's just like, keeping that perspective of understanding that like you got 30 seconds to show people something. And you think a lot about Zoran, right? And I've been like having a debate with one of my team members about this. Why do you think Zoran was able to catch fire the way that he was?
Yeah, his engagement,
right? So like you got people say, oh, there was this policy idea. I think the way he focused on affordability, that definitely had a lot to do with it. But I think ultimately what it boils down to is something very simple. When people watch Zoran's video, they smiled at one point. Mm-hmm. It's like, I kind of like this dude, right? Right? And it's just because you felt like he was authentically being himself. And I told myself, even when we were back hiring our TV firm, I was like, I'm not finna do this whole Congress thing if I can't just be me.
Yeah, you gotta be yourself.
Yeah, if I can't be me, if I gotta like try to follow some tired plate recipe, like then what's the point of even doing this? So yeah, the ad was very much just like, yo, this is 30 seconds of who I am and what my life is. And by the time this is over, you're gonna have a view about like who I am. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that is it.
Cool.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for tuning in. Those hearings, October 1st through
the 10th.
And where are they being held?
It's in El Paso. And I don't know if it's going to be like a live stream or anything, but it's in El Paso. Yeah.
All right. So if it's live stream, we will put it up for you to see. Carisha says, wish you the best. All right. All right. So that is it. We are out. We will see you tomorrow. I have the last of these 6 conversations is tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Have a good evening.